Hi, everybody who's watching live. Welcome to the Faiā Futures show. And sorry we started a little bit late today. Kaya is unfortunately unwell, but I have another special guest where you may have seen his face before. But before we get him on, the Faiā Futures show will happen every week, and we'll be discussing the preparation that we need to do for Web3 and the metaverse, focusing on the future of work and communities. So with me today, I have George Yossi Samuels.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Liza.
Hi, George. Thank you for jumping on last minute. Really appreciate it. So thank you so much. But we'll get straight into it. And to start off with, would love for you to talk about yourself, Faiā. You can introduce Faiā and your career, how you got here. Over to you.
Sure. Thanks again. Would have been great to have Kaya on, but if, of course, you are watching and you're new to this series, my name is George Yossi Samuels. I'm the managing director for Faiā. Faiā is a community tech consultancy, and we are specializing in the building of meta communities. So, of course, Eliza has done a great job of putting this series together to help expose a lot more folks to this emerging space of the metaverse, DAOs, NFTs, etc. And in terms of my own career history, I first got involved with Bitcoin back in 2013. That was where I really saw the potential of what could happen with something like Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency, as it was known at the time. And what really fascinated me the most was sort of what was happening with the local communities. And back then, that was in Melbourne, Australia, which is where Elias and I originally met. So as I noticed the community evolve and sort of take on new directions, things really started to heat up around 2016, 2017. And in 2017, that's where we saw the sort of crypto mania, the crypto craze involving ICOs, etc. And so that was really an interesting time, because it's where I then started to kind of take things more seriously and start to see this convergence of communities and the underlying blockchain tech that is involved with Bitcoin. So fast forward a few years, ended up going from originally a developer. When I came out of uni, I was a front-end developer, got into sales, then I got into marketing, then community management for a local co-working space, which is where we had Australia's first Bitcoin ATM. And then after that, ended up involved in the enterprise space. And there is where I worked with big banks that were clients of the financial tech company I was working with, and really started to see how things worked in the real world, And so from there, then had the idea to move to Singapore, which is where we set up Faiā. And ever since then, I've been shouting from the rooftops about the importance of communities and blockchain tech. And now we are here today, where the metaverse and what Facebook has done with their rebranding has really put a spotlight on with this overlap. Oh, and Eliza, I think you're on mute.
I was. Thanks, George. Okay, rookie error. Now, so blockchain. So a lot of people know Faiā has been quite community focused. But before we tap into the community, what got you interested in blockchain technology, and why do you think it is the future?
Yeah, I think what got me interested, I think, was the idea, one, of a new type of global currency. And that idea, as someone who's never really felt like I fitted in with any one country, because I've been moving around a lot, people who have traveled at least know sort of the pains of having to exchange currencies, between each country. And that process sometimes isn't the easiest. Things have definitely improved in the financial tech markets, but the underlying systems are still quite archaic. And so I think when I saw Bitcoin being something that could possibly bring in what folks call the unbanked populations of the world, to actually have them engage in a global economy for, with micropayments, that's something that really kind of pushed me towards starting to do something and getting people to understand why this is going to be a big deal in the long run.
Absolutely. We definitely see this change in the next 5, 10, 20 years. And I've known George for quite some time. And for those who don't know George, George has a triage of very fantastic skills. So he's talked to you that he knows a lot about the front end development. He's also a creative, and he's also running these two businesses. There's a lot of questions I can ask George, but why community?
Mm-hmm. Why community? So if we look at what's currently happening, especially in the crypto space, and then moving into NFTs, the most successful projects right now talk a lot about community. And the reason for this is because when you build a very strong following and then you build a sense of community around your brand, it actually makes it a lot stickier. And it almost becomes like your defensible moat, right? We often talk about defensible moats in the form of IP, patents, those sort of things. But in this emerging space, how you are able to make people that are really into your project feel is becoming a big deal. On social media, between 2010 to 2020, we really saw the rise in sort of all the social networks of the 2000s period start to want more intimacy. So if you look at 2000 to 2010 as like the mission that Facebook had, of which is connecting the world, that was step one. The next step was, okay, well, we've connected everybody, but now I'm feeling still lonely. I think there's like a quote from Drake in one of his songs. It's like, it's essentially like I know everybody, but I still don't feel like I know everybody. You can be connected to so many people, have all these friends and followers, and yet still feel alone. Oh yeah, that was a thing. It's like I may not always be alone, but I always feel alone. And that's very true in the world of social media. And I think we're moving now into a new era where people are wanting to move beyond just the connections, and they're seeking more intimacy, right? Seeking more meaning. And so this is where communities or projects who are able to build that sense of community in their own universes around a brand, they're really seeing the success of this. And you can look no further than what's happening in the NFT space, which is leveraging blockchain technology.
Interesting. And for the topic of the Faiā Futures show and the future of work, let's bridge that gap. There's community and emerging technology. We're in this evolutionary time, but how can professionals who are used to the traditional ways of working get to understand or upskill themselves of what they need to learn? So a lot of people are seeing this change. There's a lot of conversation. There's also a lot of jargon out there. But you've obviously been in this space because through your skills, the work that you do. But for a lot of people out there who are not in this space, who are shaping it or have businesses, how can day-to-day professionals understand what they need to upskill? Those, I guess, transferable hard skills and soft skills, right?
Yeah, well, because I'm talking about communities in this space, right? Communities is really about emotions and feeling. And there's a book called Story Wars, which I highly recommend people check out. And there they talk about those with the strongest stories win. And this is very true in today's times. And in terms of stories, you would consider maybe storytelling as a soft skill, right? And when you're dealing with communities, you often will be talking about culture. And all the things that relate to these aspects are often referred to as soft skills. So communication, the ability to draw and attract people, these are not necessarily things that you can easily grade yourself on objectively. It is very much a subjective thing. And so all of that is translating into this new space. I think there are new roles and new job titles coming about, but I think if you have the ability to tell stories, but also back it up, right, with things that are good, solid products, your initiative, your venture is just going to go that much further. And in terms of day-to-day professionals, you can see this already taking place, whereby this next generation is so used to like virtual communities. Essentially, the next generation is going to look at employers as being the ones to sort of create this sense of community for them when everybody's kind of working remotely or working as a distributed workforce. And so employers are going to really need to be master community builders, because what is going to be expected is this flexibility, where geographic location doesn't matter as much anymore. And the metaverse is starting to bring in technologies such as virtual reality, augmented reality. So I think soon enough in our lifetimes, we will be able to have virtual experiences that make us feel like we are in the same place as somebody, or at least get us closer to what it would be like if we were in the same place together.
Thanks, George. And could you share our viewers some of those roles we see coming?
Yeah, sure.
And we've had a few that come up during our webinars as well that have been really interesting. So shed some light on that for us.
For sure. So some of the roles that are popping up already include meme managers. So those who are able to, take things that are currently happening, create memes instantly out of them, they have a job in marketing. For internal employees, still there? Okay, I think I'm still there. For internal employees, you're looking at people called vibe managers, right? These are essentially maybe your traditional office managers or maybe internal community managers who are responsible for creating good vibes. This has to do with the culture side. And for anyone who works in an enterprise workplace, you'll know how important this is for longevity, for your employee base. And I think the other one was game. Oh, it looks like we've got Stacy. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for being on. And so, yeah, the other role that I've seen pop out is a DAO leader. So this is essentially like a project leader in the DAO space, so for decentralized autonomous organizations. Another term for DAOs is also a DAC, DAC, and so you just replace organization with corporation. But yeah, another job title includes a game, is it a game theory strategist? Oh, sorry, economist. So you now have people who can combine their knowledge with game theory and then also their knowledge of economics and put those two together, because everything is becoming gamified in this space as well. So those are just some of the examples of the roles that I'm seeing.
Yes, and there's a whole lot out there, and at each, our participants always surprise us, don't
Yep.
when we have them. Great. So when it comes to back to the professionals, back to this landscape of people like upskilling themselves, where do we start? Where can people start?
Yeah, I think one of the easiest ways, well, at least for me, what I do is I often will just go onto Twitter. Twitter hashtags are actually a really great way for you to get up to speed with what's happening in the space. So, just follow any hashtags related to the metaverse, to DAOs, and you'll very quickly see who are the players and who's engaged, who are the influencers, et cetera. So it only take you about maybe 24 hours to do a little bit of digging through Twitter and the hashtags there for you to find out, how to get started. That's just if you're dipping your toes in, right? And you're kind of wanting to see the engagement. The other way you can get started is to just immerse yourself. So when we're talking about the metaverse, there are, of course, the NFT space. So OpenSea, which is based on Ethereum. Of course, you can go there to see what people are buying or selling. You can also go into virtual reality places. So this is where there are games like Decentraland, and I think a more recent one that popped up is called Sandbox, which I think is another one to look into. But if you have access to those Oculus Rift goggles or any VR goggle, you'll be able to start just seeing what's happening. For jobs, just look up on Google job boards, metaverse or DAO or NFT, all that jargon that you hear. Just Google it, and you should be able to get some good search results. So we also have Stacy, who's commenting away. Thank you. Is that hashtag metaverse are there any others? So I'm just going to write to Stacy here. Hopefully she'll see it, but hashtag metaverse, hashtag NFTs, hashtag DAO, so DAO, hashtag blockchain, hashtag crypto. I think those are probably your top 5 that you will want to look into. And just give yourself 24 hours, you'll be able to see what's circulating on the web right now. So yeah.
And if you guys have any questions, and if you're watching, just feel free to type them out and hopefully we can see them. And we'll also pop that over here in our channels. And one more one more question before we start wrapping things up for you, George. What is your gut feel that's going to be happening for 2022 in this space?
Mm-hmm. I think, no, I don't think, I feel, right? I feel that in this particular space, especially next year, 2022, I'm someone who kind of follows things like, the Chinese New Year, etc. Grew up in the Asia Pacific region for most of my life. And so next year is the year of the water tiger, I believe. So the year of the tiger. So if you just think about what a tiger represents, it represents, the ability to sort of leap forward, the ability to kind of just attack, a goal, go after what it wants. A lot of fire energy, but then tampered a little bit with the water element. So it's going to be the pursuing of goals, and going straight for it, but also taking into account a little bit more of the water sign or symbolism, which has to do with emotions and feelings, etc. This is why I talk about, if you look at this sort of yang energy from the tiger, the technology side, you've got this yin element of water in the new year in 2022, which kind of balances out a little bit. So you're going to see a lot of leaps forward, I think, from an innovation standpoint. But then you're also going to see a lot of talk around things relating to feelings and emotions, which is the water element. And that's where communities come in. Communities, culture, soft skills, all the things that are typically associated with that, we'll probably see both take a leap forward next year. And it'll be very different from this year, which is the year of the ox, which might seem more like a very slow, plodding, sort of planting the seeds for what's to come over the next decade. That's what this year has been about.
Thanks, George, for sharing that. Yes, definitely looking forward to 2022. And we'll be talking more about that, the Year of the Tiger very soon on our show with George. To wrap things up, first of all, if you've joined on our live channels, thank you very much. And to let you guys know, we've got our next show next week on Monday, talking about DAOs and legal tech. And for those of you who are really interested on meta communities, we have our micro accelerator cohort on meta communities happening in January 2022. So if you're ready to dive in and learn more about how to build your communities for Web3 in the metaverse, join us for a 1-week sprint to get yourself started in this place. We'll pop in the URLs onto our channels and on these links. So for you guys to register, for anybody who wants to get to know about those, our micro accelerator further, we have also information sessions happening every week till the start of our cohort. Other than that, we'll catch you guys on the next Faiā Futures show, and have a great day wherever you are. Thanks, George.
Hold on, one thing, Eliza, sorry,
yeah?
Just for everybody, I just thought I'd share.
Thank you.
Yes, I thought I'd share the micro accelerator link. So if you go to that URL at the top, hopefully you guys can see that. Stacy, Olga, I can see that you guys are on. Are you guys able to see that URL at the top? If not, it is just faiacorp.com/micro-accelerator. And this accelerator is all about helping you get up to speed with what we're, as Eliza mentioned, calling meta communities. And especially from a marketing standpoint, this is probably going to be very vital in terms of getting you set up with communities for this this metaverse space. So we'll be
Yes.
sharing everything that we've been learning. And
Mhm.
Eliza, if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, so for people who's like, what is this all about? So the accelerator, the micro accelerator, is for people who are digital strategists who want to get upskilled, marketeers, and also for forward-thinking entrepreneurs and people in business who want to actually launch in their meta community MVPs and really get their hands dirty and get started. Right now, time is the essence. Play with it, experiment. That's what this micro accelerator is all about. So yeah, that's all from us.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody. And we'll pop in the details now.
Thanks all for tuning in.
Thank you.